Do you find yourself feeling frustrated at the fact that everyone's talking about how to leave a toxic and narcissistic partner, or how to heal after leaving one of those types of partners, but no one's talking enough about what happens when they left you? What happens when they broke up with you? Well, you're in luck, because in this video, we're going to get into that. Not only are we going to talk about what happens when they left you, but I'm going to give you the necessary tools to start shifting the pain that comes along with being discarded by a toxic and narcissistic partner. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Nailah Abdullah. If you are new to me, I'm a mental health therapist turned toxic relationship coach. And after overcoming my own personal experiences with toxic and narcissistic relationships, I now work with women like you, helping you to heal, to rebuild yourself after a toxic and narcissistic relationship, and most importantly, breaking the cycle of toxic relationships for good. So if that sounds like what you need, go ahead and click the like, the subscribe, and let's get into this topic. So the conversation that we're having today is actually coming from a post that I read. So let me read that to you. I read a lot about leaving the narcissist, but not as much about the narcissist being the one who left. Despite how horrible it got at the end, after 10 years, he left me. Not a word since in over a year since the discard, and I'm a wreck. So the overall question that this woman is asking, and maybe that you're asking, is how can the narcissist leave me? So we're going to answer that. Before we answer that though, I first want to address the pain and the feeling that as in this woman is expressing, that she feels like she's a wreck, right? That this person has not reached out to her and that he left her, right? And really and truly, right, this is really about your ego, right? And that's not an attack on you, but we have to be honest with ourselves about where these thoughts and feelings are coming from. A lot of times I hear people saying, well, I still love him. Do you really still love him? Are you really hurt that he left? Because she said in this post was that even though things were very bad, I forgot the exact terminology, but she was saying even though things got really bad, she still feels a wreck. So are you really missing the person and the things that got really bad? Or is your ego bruised? And we're human. All of our egos get bruised, right? I know that can sound a little offensive, but we're all human and we all have an ego, right? I believe sometimes people feel that pain, or they feel like I miss him, or, you know, even though I know it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense because it doesn't make sense, right? You're onto something. You're right. It doesn't make sense. It's really about the ego. It's really about you feeling like I've put so much into this relationship. I've sacrificed my dignity. I've sacrificed my self-respect. You know, I went against things that I didn't really want to do. I did it anyway. And now it didn't even pay off, right? Now I still lost the relationship, right? It went in vain. So here's my suggestion for that feeling, right? One, I want to normalize it. That's where you are, and that's where we all have been at some point. I too was in a 10-year relationship with someone that I consider a narcissist, and I felt like I wasted 10 years out of my life, from 20 to 30, right? I feel like that was a whole decade that I wasted. So I completely get the feeling that you've put so much into something and nothing good came out of it. The solution that I suggest for that, and I've used that with myself and I use that with women that I work with too, is I encourage us to turn down the emotions a bit and turn up the logic. The logical part to this of life, period, is that we are going to make mistakes. We are going to make some small mistakes, and we're going to make some big mistakes, right? We know, all of us know, that a time machine does not really exist. We can't go back in the past. So yes, we can think about the past to some extent and say, I wish this couldn't have happened, or I wish I didn't do this, or I shouldn't have sacrificed so much time. That's okay. That's all normal. But we have to take a step back and say, okay, now, how much time and energy am I using to lament on the past? Because now that's not productive, right? Depending on how much time you put into it. So we have to always be aware of how much energy and time are we putting into certain types of thoughts, right? Again, all thoughts, all feelings and thoughts is all normal. It comes up, but how much are we putting into it? How much are we allowing it to consume us? So going back to the ego part, right, that's bruised, we need to be aware of that. Yes, I feel like I wasted time. I feel like I sacrificed so much and nothing came out of it, right? But we can't go back to the past. What we can do is be in control of the present and be in control of the future, right? If we make the right decisions moving forward, if we learn from our mistakes, if we learn and figure out, how did I get there? Why did I sacrifice so much of myself? Why did I tolerate so many things that was against my morals and my values, and tolerated things I typically said I wouldn't tolerate, right? That is part of doing the work, right? Those are the two main questions that I focus on when I work with women is, how did I get there, and how do I make sure I don't get there again? And those questions may sound simple, but it takes a lot of digging to understand who you were then. Why did I make those decisions? So it's not going to go in vain, because this opportunity will allow you to grow. Is it an opportunity that you would have chosen? Definitely not. But it's something that happened as in past tense. We can't go back in the past, but now you have the power within yourself to grow from this, to figure out, who was I, why did I make those decisions, and how do I need to change within myself? How do I need to shift the way that I function and in my thought process to make sure that I don't end up back there again? But don't allow your ego, that ego trip and that bruised ego, to make you think that, oh, I still miss him, oh, I still love him. No, your ego is bruised that he dropped you, even though you had sacrificed so much. And that's okay, but don't get stuck there. The second point that I want you to write down and be aware of is that you feel confused because his decision is not logical, right? As we're talking about emotions and logic, we talked about your logic first, but now this next point is about the logic about his decision. It doesn't make sense that someone would let go of someone that has poured into them, that has given so much, that has tried their best, despite you not getting back the same in return. It doesn't make sense. It's not logical. So now you're confused. You're confused about this. And narcissists will leave you confused. Even if you were the one that left, they will leave you confused on many levels. But we're talking about if they left you. So let me help you to get unconfused. It's not logical that he left because they're not logical beings. Okay? You both had two different motives about going into this relationship. You had a motive and he had a motive, and they were not enmeshed. Okay? They were not congruent. Okay? Your motive was to build something solid, something healthy, and that's something that can flourish. His motive was to get someone to exploit and control and to get everything out of that he possibly can, because that's how these people function. To help relieve you of feeling confused, you have to shift the way that you view these types of people who are narcissistic. You cannot expect normalcy from them. You cannot expect them to think or to function in the way a healthy person would. As long as you continue to do that, the longer you will be confused. And a lot of people see these traits. See, even if you don't know exactly what a narcissist is, you don't have the exact diagnosis. Let's just call them toxic, right? You see a pattern of toxic, which is destructive to your well-being, right? So you see a pattern of destructive behavior, manipulative behavior, irrational behavior, behavior that causes a lot of chaos and conflict, right? It's not working along with what you're trying to do, which is build peace, which is to build joy, to build a healthy, happy home, right? If you see someone going in the complete opposite direction, you have to realize, I can't expect the same things from this person, because we're on two different paths. We have two different motives, right? And that's hard to believe, and people sometimes refuse to believe that there are people out there who don't have the same goals you have. They may tell you they want the same things. They may tell you they want a healthy, happy home, right? But you have to judge people based on their actions. And if their actions are not congruent with yours, you have to judge them based on that and not their words. So relieve yourself of some of that confusion by accepting that they had a completely different motive. So them choosing to leave you, yes, it seems irrational and illogical to you, and that's why you're confused about it, but it makes complete sense to them because they have their own agenda. You may know the agenda, which we'll get into in the next point, or you may not know their agenda, but whatever it is, their agenda doesn't match your agenda, and that's something you have to accept to relieve yourself of the confusion. This is not a normal, healthy person. So the next point that I want to focus in on, according to this particular post, is that this woman said it's been over a year after the toxic ex, the narcissistic ex discarded her, and she has not heard from him since. She feels a wreck. When something like this happens, you typically would ask yourself, how can the person just detach from me like that? We were in a 10-year relationship. How can you just go without, how can you leave me and then go without never reaching out to me again? So you may ask yourself, how can you detach so easily? How can you just move on so easily? These are the questions that may come up. You may also be asking yourself, which is a common question, did he really even love me? It's hard to understand if someone could have loved you if they could just pick up and leave and never reach out again. Referring back to the previous point that I just spoke about, these are not normal, healthy people. And I know normal is a taboo word because people always say, well, what's normal? Yeah, but there is some normal, okay? When I say not normal, their brain functions differently. Their main goal in life is to control, to exploit, and to break. Okay? Which is not normal. It's not healthy, right? So did he really ever love you? They're not capable of love. It could be a 10, 20, 30, 40-year relationship. They'll stick around as long as it's serving their needs, as long as they're getting what they want. And when I say what they want, it's not that you're giving them things, it's that they feel like they're getting enough control and ability to exploit and break you as much as they want to and as freely as they want to, right? So as long as that's happening, the relationship can go for decades, right? But can they love? They don't have the capacity to love, okay? Not all human beings have the capacity to love. Now, we understand that when we look in the animal kingdom and we see certain animals, there's certain animals that you can get a baby tiger and you can raise it. It's a cute cub, but eventually that tiger is going to grow very big. And I know they have tigers in circuses, but, typically they're not safe, right? There's some animals, no matter how much you love and nurture them, they're not safe and they can eventually hurt you. And we accept that when it comes to animals, but we can't accept it when it comes to humans. But guess what? We're also a part of the animal kingdom. And there are some humans that no matter how much you give to them, no matter how much you love on them, they're not capable of love. And that is typically people with personality disorders. And I'm not going to go too far into that. Narcissism is a type of personality disorder. But I try not to go too deep into that because there are many people that are getting so caught up with the personality diagnosis, right? But they're forgetting to work on themselves to heal. So they're not talking about this a year from now, right? Or at least to this extent, right? So we don't have to go too far into that. But the point is you have to accept that no, they did not love you. They don't have the capacity to love you. How can they detach so easily? Because they did not love you. How can they move on so easily? Because they need new supply. Again, if they feel like they're not getting what they want out of you, they're not able to control you in the way that they want to, break you in the way that they want to, or they found someone new that's giving them a new burst of life, of supply life, they're going to move on. It's easy for them to do because they were never really genuinely attached, right? You can be attached in an unhealthy way, in a way that, oh, you're giving me something that I need, not necessarily tangible, but something that I need that fulfills me, right? But that's not a genuine attachment out of love. And for those of you who are not familiar with the term supply, that is a term that is used in the world of narcissism conversation, and it's basically someone who is feeding the narcissist ego, giving them what they want. They don't really understand who they are yet, so they're just giving them whatever they want. You were a supply, and maybe you being a supply is not enough for them. Let me tell you something. Count it a blessing. Count it a blessing that they discarded you. I know it hurts the ego when you hear women that have picked up and left the narcissist. I get that, and you wish maybe you were the one that did that and not the other way around, that they left you. Okay, but don't let your ego control you. Don't let your ego prevent you from being able to heal, right? Don't let your ego do that, okay? The reality is you were in a very toxic situation. You were abused emotionally and psychologically. And by the grace of God, that person have left. Okay? Now this is your chance to completely break free. Because ending a relationship is just the tip of the iceberg. That just means you don't have the title anymore. They're not in your space anymore. But mentally and psychologically, you're still attached. So now this is your opportunity to firstly protect yourself and make sure they can't come back, right? Because sometimes people feel their egos are bruised that they left, and the minute the person tries to come back, you start to entertain that. Protect yourself and then start to work on you. You have been blessed with the opportunity that they left. There are some women that are begging that the person leaves because maybe they can't find the strength to leave. So count this a blessing and don't let any more time go in vain as you feel like the first 10 years or however long you've been with them have went in vain. Get in control now of the present. We can't control the past, but let's control the present. Let's control the future and use this as a blessing and as an opportunity to break free mentally and to start healing yourself. I hope that this was helpful for you. If it was, I invite you to go ahead and click the link in the description box below where I talk a little bit about my inner circle, Nailah's inner circle, and that is a membership group for people that are looking for coaching. I also have a one-on-one coaching program, so you can click the link in the description box below for that as well. But if you're looking for something a little bit more, let's say with a community of women, it's not just one-on-one, but you have a community of women. We have group coaching sessions. I have classes that are in there, worksheets that are in there. So you have something that you can interact with me within the group directly, and you also have access to self-paced classes that you can take and worksheets that you can work through to help you on your healing journey. So if that's something that you think you may be interested in, I invite you to click the link in the description box below to find out a little bit more about that. Unfortunately, most people that I've ever spoken to have either been through a toxic and narcissistic relationship or know someone who have. So I invite you also to go ahead and share this video with someone that you know of that can benefit from this. And I will see you in the next episode.